Hello, from Sherry Forsyth, a life coach in Cape in South Africa. I welcome you to my 14th talk in the series on how to be uniquely and powerfully you. And the topic today is, in order for us to be our best, at our best, we need to be able to control our meltdowns. In fact, hopefully have very few of them. In having meltdowns, it's a very damaging thing. And so we can't be at our very best when we are losing control. And so one of the important parts of emotional intelligence is self-management. And being able to control meltdowns obviously falls under our ability to manage ourselves. So I personally am just about ready to have a meltdown in that technology has failed me this morning, and this is the third time that I am recording this live Facebook video, so hold thumbs that we managed to make it all the way through without having any difficulties. I welcome my sister Sandy, who's a very loyal supporter of my live Facebook videos, and she's in Muscat at the moment having a week-long holiday, so I wish her well and know that she's having a lovely time. Anyway, so on we go with the topic of meltdowns. We think that by having a meltdown, that maybe we are in a very powerful place. By having a meltdown, we can scream and shout at other people. And in fact, by being so aggressive and being so loud, we think that it makes us feel powerful. But in actual fact, it's exactly the opposite. And I welcome a friend, Sue Montgomery. Thank you for your support watching these videos. I appreciate it very much. I was saying that, in fact, when you do lose control like that, you are giving your power away to the other person. And it leaves the other person, a meltdown leaves the other person feeling not so great. And it certainly leaves you, your soul actually knows that your behavior hasn't been that great. So that's the first thing I wanted to say is when we have a meltdown, we lose our power. And in being uniquely and powerfully you, we need to make sure that we always are retaining our power. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. Then the next thing is that we think that the way to convince other people is to be very loud and very aggressive and very forceful. And in fact, once again, that doesn't work. So society itself seems to say to us that it's okay to have a meltdown. You know, you mustn't suppress the information, you must let it all hang out. But in fact, it's a very, very damaging thing to do. And so we have to say to society, actually, we're giving this a bit of a rethink. We don't want to be having the meltdowns. A very clever way of avoiding going to talk about an issue that you don't want to deal with is by having a meltdown. So imagine you wanting to speak to somebody about something that's really relevant but difficult. You approach them, you raise the topic, and there's this massive explosion. You probably won't have the discussion. If you're very brave, you'll try on another day and maybe even a third and fourth day. But eventually, you will give up because you don't want to be on the receiving end of the explosions. So, not that one consciously does it, but many people use meltdowns as a way to avoid being able to confront certain issues. So just to be aware of that, okay? So in this video today, I'm talking to the people who have lots of meltdowns. And it's not everybody. There are many people who are very calm, and most of the time they survive without having huge meltdowns. But I am talking to the people who do have meltdowns. because they are so damaging, not only to yourself, but to the people that you're nearest and dearest, your family, your work colleagues. And I would like to try and limit that damage that is being done. So let's have a look at a few tips on how to control or how to limit your meltdowns. And the first step, as always, is to have an awareness. We cannot change what we're not aware of, and we cannot change what we don't acknowledge. So those are the first two steps. So it might sound like, oh, duh. I mean, obviously you must be aware of the fact that you're having a meltdown because you've had a meltdown. But many people don't realize that it's part of who they are, and they don't realize how damaging it is because they're so used to it. Okay? So when I say you need to have an awareness, I want you to think about whether you are a person that kind of is permanently simmering and just waiting for that excuse to have a meltdown. And if you are, then this video is for you. If you're not, maybe you're one of the ones that is always on the receiving end of meltdowns, and then maybe you can use this video to help yourself, or maybe to send it on to the person who's having the meltdowns so that they can hopefully get a bit of control. So we first have to become aware of, maybe I am a person who has lots of meltdowns, and then we need to acknowledge. Okay, so I'm aware that I do it, and now I acknowledge that I have got a problem. So what's going to make me change? I can have awareness and acknowledgement and just say, well, that's fine. It's okay with me. I don't mind. But so this might change you. I want you to think about the last time that you had a really dramatic meltdown. And I want you to put yourself back in that place. I want you to try and imagine what your face must look like, or must have looked like. I want you to remember, if you can, the words that came out of your mouth. And usually when we're in such a rage, we can't remember. But try and remember what you said. Okay? Get a snapshot of what that situation must have been like. Okay, and now I want you to imagine being on the receiving end. That person that was on the receiving end of that toxic spew of stuff coming out of your mouth, how were they feeling? How do you think they were feeling? And I can't imagine that you could think that they would want to be there. Okay. No one wants to be on the receiving end of that. How arrogant, actually, of us as the people who are melting down to think that our nearest and dearest, or our work colleagues, want to be on the receiving end of our toxicity, our aggression, our screaming and shouting. How arrogant. So maybe that, thinking about that, about the effect of your screaming and shouting, your outbursts, might then make you realize that I do acknowledge I have a problem, but now I know I need to change it. Okay, I don't want to be having that effect on people that I work with or on people that I love. And then we're in business. Because the minute you have that intention to change this toxic behavior, we can do it. And so I make it very simple. I like to make things as simple as possible. So once we've got to the realization that we don't actually want to be doing this anymore, what can we do to stop the meltdowns? And it's very simple. As soon as you can feel that emotion coming up from your boots, and all you want to do is just explode it out of your mouth, you stop it. Oh, that sounds so easy, you might say. I know it's very difficult. Okay, I know it's very difficult, but you can do it. So the minute you feel that need to explode, there are two very effective ways of stopping that wave. The first one is to visualize a stop sign. As we see on the roads, that red stop sign. Visualize it, and it will shake your body into realizing, I don't want to go there again. Okay? The other thing you can visualize if a stop sign doesn't work for you is the pause button. You know, that's on all our electronic devices, the round circle with the two lines. Okay? Pause. So it's either stop or pause. That'll stop you in your tracks. It'll stop the hysteria of the motion. And then you need to buy yourself some time. Okay? And very often it's a little thing you can say. Firstly, hold that thought. So in other words, I'm not going to run away from this. I am coming back. Please hold that thought. I just quickly have to go and get us a glass of water each. Don't you think that'll be a good idea? Or please hold that thought. I'm desperate to go to the loo. Or please hold that thought. I'm just going to close the door for privacy. And in those few seconds, because that's all it takes, in those few seconds, you can disarm yourself so that you can come back calm and you can have the difficult conversation rather than the explosion. Okay? So in that time, we see the stop sign or the pause button. We buy ourselves some time by saying, you know, please hold that thought. I'm going to get a glass of water. And while we are on the break, we can breathe to calm ourselves down. There are various techniques that one can use for immediate calming, bringing yourself back to your senses. And then you choose your response. So then you are empowered to choose whether to lose it or not. And my wish and my hope for you is that you can always choose not to lose your temper. So in the comment box below, I would like to encourage you to write down what helps you in preventing a meltdown. What things are have assisted you, and by sharing them with others, we once again start a conversation where others can maybe be helped by your wisdom. So if you have enjoyed the video or have found it of benefit, but particularly if you know someone who melts down quite a lot, I ask you to share this video with them in the hope that it will help them to be able to put themselves on the pause button and to choose their response as in a calm, quiet conversation rather than a toxic explosion. And as always, I thank you for joining me on this live video, and I look forward to chatting again next week. In the meantime, have a good week and be very calm.